The Bread and Better podcast acknowledges the Yagara people and the Turrbal people as the traditional custodians of Meanjin, the lands on which we record today. We pay our respects to the Yagara and Turrbal elders, past, present, and emerging. This podcast is brought to you by Hey Al Productions. And then I'm
Did I say good? Did I get you to do it one more time?
maybe just in case.
Okay, do it one more time. Go. Bread and Better podcast.
Okay. Bread and Better podcast. I feel like I am. Bread and Better podcast. Welcome to Bread and Better, a podcast made for women by women. Tegan and myself are very passionate about bringing you weekly episodes with content that inspires and educates you. I am Alex, the owner of Hey Al Productions, a boutique podcast production service based in Brisbane. I am also a freelance feature writer with a focus on women's health, parenting and pop culture, and I am a mum of 3.
And I am Tegan. I have an online business called Fitty Tegs, in which I offer nutrition, movement and mindset coaching to help my clients heal their relationships with their food, movement and bodies to create real and long-lasting results. Today on the podcast, we are welcoming a powerhouse woman. Alexis is a business mentor with 15 years experience as an entrepreneur. She works with women to help them run their businesses in a way that not only makes money, but also fits in with their lifestyle and creates freedom. Alexis and I connected via a business coaching container, and I have found her personality to be so infectious since the moment that I met her. She is so authentic and captivating, and I'm so excited to have her here to share her story, why she loves working with women, and some of the things that she has learned along the way that might help you as our listeners. Welcome to the podcast, Alexis.
Oh my gosh, ladies. Thank you so much. What more there to say? What an intro. I'm done. I can go now.
Mic drop. So Alexis, we are very food positive on the podcast, and we always start the episode by talking about the best thing that we ate in the last week. So we're going to let you go first.
Oh, so it's funny. I have listened to many of your episodes, and I love that you guys do this. And then I thought to myself, oh my God, I'm so boring right now because I'm on this all like no sugar, trying to cut gluten out. I'm in the perimenopause phase of my life and trying all these new things. So I was like, oh, I would always go for something sugary. So then I had to really dig deep. And honestly, I think the thing I was the most impressed by was a gluten-free pizza I had at a pub on Phillip Island. Where I live. There's not many food options here where I live. And it was real. Even my husband, I didn't tell him it was gluten-free. And we were like, this is delicious. So
That's so
a really
good.
amazing gluten-free pizza.
Speaking Alex's language.
You really are. As you probably know from listening, I'm a celiac and allergic to dairy. And I always try and force my gluten-free pizza on people when I'm out because I'm like, taste it. It tastes like normal. And people are always like, no, you would know. I try and force my food on you all the time. But yeah, we had pizza the other night for Mother's Day and we all shared the starter pizza and everyone was like, oh my God, it doesn't taste gluten-free at all. So you can definitely get good ones out there.
You can. Yeah. Domino's not good.
No, Domino's is pretty good.
Okay, so I recently was with some people and one of the people were a celiac. So there was 2 pizzas and they were both gluten-free and they were average.
Oh, well, I mean.
You could definitely tell.
Yeah, you can tell theirs, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah, it's better than, it's definitely come a long way.
It has, yeah.
I'm happy for you guys.
So I,
do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. I'm excited for mine. Mine's also gluten-free.
Dairy-free?
Dairy-free. I went out with some school mums last night to a local wine bar and I was there with my chamomile tea while they all got their wine, having a great time. And I was very excited when we were leaving in their dessert little dessert bar. They had one of my favourite cakes of all time. And I don't know the exact name and I feel really bad, but it's a Thai caramel coconut custard cake and it was vegan.
Is it very coconutty at the bottom and it's giving creme brulee?
Yes, it's got a layer of custard on top.
Where were you?
At Old 7.
I saw one in a cabinet recently and I thought that looked really good, but I didn't have it.
Oh, we'll have it. And I was so excited.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah. I brought it home and I ate it for dessert in my pajamas watching Real Housewives and it was so nice.
That's so good.
Yeah. It made me very, very happy. And they were all making jokes about how I'm an old lady with my cake and tea. And I was like, yes, I've always been this way.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm going to go really simple with mine.
Okay.
I bought a packet of digestive biscuits with the dark chocolate on the back.
Yum.
So good.
Yeah,
so
delicious.
simple.
How do you stop yourself from not eating the whole package?
The packet only lasted about 3 days.
Do they give you diarrhea if you eat too many of them?
No, not notably.
But I think that's what they're for.
All right. So thanks for joining us on the podcast today, Alexis. I am so excited that you're here because I think that you're such an interesting human and I like that there's some similarities in our backstory. Let's get straight into it. Let's hear about you, your career, everything. Let's go.
Should we give a little of the back dirty story first?
Yeah,
we want
the
all
tea.
of it.
Okay, well, I will try to keep this part brief because I could go deep and dark and we don't want to go too dark. So I'm now 44 years old and live in Australia, but my story with my career and business started at about 29 years old in America, in Boston. I had a really good career in running other people's fine dining restaurants. I was really good at it. I was a badass bitch. I wore my stiletto heels and my dresses every day just to kind of give you the imagery of how we evolve and change as people. And I was crushing it. I was working for some really big celebrity chefs and my career was great. And one day somebody came to me and said, are you ever going to open your own restaurant? And I said, are you bleeping? I'll hold the F-bombs for later when I get really into it. Are you bleeping crazy? Like, no, look at all these owners. They're nuts. And not long after I said that, somebody came to me, someone that was a mentor, happened to be someone I had been sleeping with on and off for years as well. Welcome to the world of restaurants. He said, I've got somebody that I think would be the perfect match for you to build your first restaurant. I was like, I don't want to build my first restaurant. Like, I like the way things are. I'm good at what I do. I was like a general manager. And he's like, just hear the guy out. So this business owner came to me and pretty much said, here's the space. I'll give you the space. It was a really, really cool space. This is the concept I want you to open for me. So I didn't really have a say in the concept, but you build it out, you design it. It's yours to do what you want with, as long as it's in this space with my money and around this concept. I'll give you $1.2 million to do it. To the public, it's yours, but it's really mine. And I would have equity in it and stuff. Now, I want to just say I was 29 years old. I do not come from big money, come from a decent middle-class American family. No one in my family would have probably handed me $1 if I was like, hey, let's go build a restaurant. So at first glance, this looks like the opportunity of a lifetime, right? Like this is your lotto ticket out of working for other people if it's what you want to do. And so I met with a chef that I had worked with for years and we walked the space and we talked about it. And within 24 hours, I realized that if I was going to do all this work for somebody else, all this work that I'm really good at, build all their systems out and do all the construction, well, why the fuck wouldn't I just do it for myself? And it was this massive aha moment for me. You know, what we give to someone that's an employer or this was an employer. I wouldn't even say it was an investor. And so within 24 hours, I politely declined. Most people thought I was insane. And I started looking for my own space.
So the push you needed.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I think at the time, I will also preface, I was probably one of the only female general managers in Boston, or one of the few.
Wow.
We were starting to see female chefs, but we weren't seeing female general managers. And the general managers were responsible for, all the financials, all the back end, the chef was in the kitchen. And I partnered up with a chef that I adored and loved, that I had worked with for years. I pitched this idea to him. I said, I think we can do this. Through my connections and networking and my ballsy attitude, I went out to people and said, can I do this? Can you put me in front of the right people? That led to my financial advisor, which then led to this epic accountant. So I had started to build a team, and then I had to hire a lawyer, and the lawyer needed $10,000 from me. And I was like, I've got $100 in my bank account because I probably drank 12 bottles of bourbon last week. And so my first $10,000 was lent from my mother, and her statement to me, which I have mixed feelings about when she said at the time, but I still took it, was, doesn't look like you're getting married anytime soon. So here's $10,000 to get you off the ground.
Wow.
Which, in all fairness, I had not kept a boyfriend for more than a month or two. And so it snowballed, and it snowballed quickly. We found a space. a very, very large space. So what we built was an empty shell of a warehouse. It had 120 seats inside, an outdoor bar, an outdoor patio. We didn't go small. We did not go small, and we should have. But you're 29 years old. You've got a vision, and the vision was clear. The clarity was there. So now I had to raise the money. So met with the builder. Of course, I hired this epic designer out of Brooklyn, and it came down to how much money I had to raise. So 29 years old, no money in the bank account, 10,000 borrowed from mommy. I had to raise 1.4 USD.
Oh my God.
This is like 15 years ago, right? 29, 30. Yeah, 15 years ago. I was like, never going to happen. Like, never going to happen, people. How do you go and ask for $1.4 million? Like, I don't even know where, like, what do you hand them a letter or something? Like, I don't know what you do. I was clueless. And I sat down with my financial advisor. We came up with all these plans. And he said, you just pitch. I got my first pitch. I remember I thought I was going to vomit. I didn't know the woman. She was from South Africa. She wanted to specifically invest some money in a restaurant. I was nauseous. I tried to like dress the part, and I got through that pitch. She gave me a chunk of money because people are nuts. And that was it. Once I got through the first one, I was a machine. And I had wrote a list of 100 people I knew that maybe would want to invest. I don't think a single person on that list invested. But what that does when you're looking to raise funds is it then connects you to the people. Because somebody always knows somebody, and you that's how you start your research. And I just kept pitching, and I had a larger investment board than probably most people would for that size project. But I was 29, and I had to, be careful of how I set up my financial structure. And within 3 months, I raised the 1.4.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. I still, when I say it, I'm like, I'd never do it again. So to kind of speed it up from there, we built this restaurant. It was insanely successful. Like, this has taken me years to like say with pride, because I would just be like, I own that place. I would kind of whisper it. I made my chef kind of the face of it. He was like, we made him kind of the celebrity. And if you knew me, you knew me, but it's okay if you didn't. I didn't want to be in the spotlight, which had its good and bad moments for me. And I just kept building it up and building it up. We were in like the Boston Globe, Food and Wine magazine. They put him on the cover. He was considered one of the best chefs in America. GQ said we were one of the best restaurants in Boston. So everything you could imagine for a business, tick, 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 tick.
Wow.
And I was miserable. I was a drunk. I slept with everyone and anything pretty much every night. I was lonely. I was sad. When they say that phrase, it's very lonely at the top. Well, it was very lonely at the top for me. Top and bottom, I guess you could say. Oh, she got it. See?
I got it. Sex ones I get.
Okay, cool. Good to know. I already like it. And that's the big story, that defining moment in my life where I sat down with my financial advisor and I broke down. And I just was like, and nobody knew this. No one knew anything, not my family. So the thing is, when I say I was drunk, never at work, none of that. But like, as soon as those doors locked, I was at the bar buying everyone drinks. Like, I wanted to be that boss that just took care of everyone. Like, I paid people's bills. I just wanted to do right by everybody, except the only person I wasn't doing right by was myself. I thought that money and success and fancy cars, although I still love fancy cars. I don't think it's ever going anywhere, unfortunately, for my husband. But I did think that money and success would bring me happiness. But what I realized is I had no clarity on why I was doing this, why I was building in it, and it wasn't really aligned with me. And so I made the decision to sell, and I sold privately very quickly because people were shocked. People were like, one day we were open and the next day we were pretty much closed. And I mean, I was devastated. This was my baby. This was everything I had sacrificed. My business partner, who I'm still friends with to this day, who I adore, but, he got married. He had kids while we were doing all this. I just worked. Nobody saw how much I was in pain. And I didn't know how much I was in pain because I just numbed it by sex or alcohol.
Yeah.
Not even a lot of drugs. It was mostly just alcohol. And when I made the call to sell, I also tried to stop drinking, and I tried taking one night off, and I couldn't do it. And I thought, oh, there's a problem. And so I went and reached out to a psychiatrist, and I started seeing her 3 times a week while in the last year of the restaurant, and eventually took a massive year off of drinking. I will just preface this with, I still do drink now, but I am, the cheapest date in the world. I always wanted to just have a better relationship with alcohol. And yeah, she was brutal. I absolutely hated her, but loved her at the same time. She held a mirror up in front of me that I've never looked at. And the day we sold my restaurant, the ink wasn't even dry on the contract. I was on a plane and off to India for my own eat, pray, love adventure.
Oh, I love that.
Not knowing it was going to end in love, I can tell you that much. And that adventure is what brought me to Australia, and ultimately to kind of reinventing myself and redefining myself, and just taking time and space to decide what actually mattered to me, and not looking at everyone else and basing my life off of them.
So how old were you then by the time did you travel for a long time or?
Yeah. So I went to India for a month and did what they call a panchakarma detox. I think it's just panchakarma, but it is a detox. It was disgusting. They are detoxing you from every part of your body. And let me tell you, as someone that was, drinking so much and partying so much, like my whole face was like broken out. Like it was disgusting. And like you just wore robes all the time because you were just detoxing. But it was pretty powerful. And then from there, I don't remember what order, but I went to Indonesia, I went to Vietnam, and then I think I was in Vietnam and somebody in a pool. I remember I like upgraded and stayed at like a fancy hotel for like a night or two. And I was talking to this couple, because I'll talk to anyone. And they had these weird accents that I didn't understand. And I realized maybe it's because I've never actually spoken to an Aussie. Like, I don't know. Growing up in New York and Boston, I've been thinking about this over the 8 years of living in Australia, and I was like, I don't know. Maybe I just never really crossed paths with an Aussie.
Yeah.
They were an Aussie couple, and they were from Byron Bay. And I can't picture them to save my lives. Thank you, like ADHD and bad memory. But I remember the conversation, and they were like, you have to go to Australia. Like, you've never been to this side of the world. And I was like, why? It's another westernized, like, what's the point? I don't need to see a kangaroo. Like, it didn't have any interest to me, right? Like, I was doing my hippy-dippy journey. And I don't know, I guess I just finally was like, okay. So I came to Australia. I went to Byron Bay, and I remember calling my family being like, people aren't wearing shoes here in the supermarket. What's wrong with them? Like,
That's
I was so confused. Like, I'm from New York. You do not do that.
No.
And I kind of flipped a coin and then decided to go to Melbourne instead of Sydney. And I had my first beer in a year in Melbourne because, I don't know, it was just like when in Rome, I was with this awesome couple. And they were like, you should go on Tinder. And I was like, no. I never went online dating in the States because 90% of the people that would show up were my employees. I was like, no. So I said no. Then I had one beer and was like, well, if you haven't drank in a year and you have one beer, you're like, okay. So I said, okay. And I went on Tinder, and my husband, my now husband we've been together 8 years, was the third date I went on. I definitely had a few cocktails with him. I like to always tell him that he got me drunk, and that's how he got me. Had epic sex our first night together. So you can have sex and fall in love. I'm sorry to say, people of other generations. And we are madly in love with each other. He is the greatest addition to my life, the biggest supporter, my biggest cheerleader. He makes me laugh every single day. And now I'm a citizen of Australia.
Oh, I love that. That's so nice. And so what did you do when you, like after you'd finished your traveling in Byron Bay and you settled in Melbourne, did you go back into the hospitality industry?
It's a really good question. So we moved to Sydney when we first got together, when I permanently moved here because he was working on a project. And the irony of it was about when I had first met him and we decided to make all this happen. Like, it was literally like we had this one night, then it turned into a week. And then it turned into 3 weeks. And I was like, I'm moving here. Okay. So I went to the rock pool group because I am still apparently a ballsy motherfucker, and knocked on their door pretty much and was like, you need me.
Yeah.
You don't have anyone like me in Australia. And they literally, like the head of the company emailed me within 24 hours and I had a meeting and I was working for them as soon as I got back. So they kind of sponsored me.
Wow.
Yeah. And a lot of big opportunities came through that. Some other very big names that I actually will not say because I didn't enjoy my experiences with them.
Yeah.
And a big part of that reason is because I just realized that I'm done with the industry. I don't have it in me anymore. I sold my baby and there's a reason for that. And, one of the greatest lines, my clients hear me say this all the time, is just because you're good at something doesn't mean it's good for you.
Yes.
Love that.
Yep. I love that.
Yeah. And that's the thing for me with restaurants. I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
Like, I know how good I am. And that's not me tooting my horn. The proof is in the pudding,
Yeah.
But I just, it breaks me and it brings out this ruthless woman. I mean, I am ruthless. People say in the restaurant industry, the chefs are the ones that, are crazy. No. In my business, I was the one that everybody feared. And I took pleasure from that. I'm not proud to say that, but that was just because my mentors were all men. I think I ran from a very masculine standpoint.
Yeah.
So it's actually one of the main reasons I choose to work only with women now, because I've helped lift a lot of men in a lot of restaurants. And it was my time to give back to women.
Yeah, wow. That leads us really nicely into the next question. So, yeah, Tegan does tell me that you work exclusively with women now, and a lot of those people are busy mums like me. So can we expand on why you like working with that demographic?
And what you do for work now.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So I'm a business mentor. I choose to work only with women because, and I'm sorry, ladies, I'm just going to say this because it's the truth, and I don't sugarcoat anything. So if you're looking for that, I'm probably not the one you want to listen to. Women often run their lives from an emotional standpoint. And while I think that makes us really strong, impactful, unstoppable, determined as fuck, it also makes us not see the business side. It's like we can't separate the emotion and the business. And I love being able to do that with women. I love being able to say, yes, you're really good at this and this side, but let's get really freaking boring and structure this out and create those layers and figure out why you don't have momentum and address your ADHD and whatever else is going on. Let's look at the whole picture and let's rearrange the pieces so that you can actually do what you want and stop getting in your own way and have confidence.
I can definitely see how our emotions get in our way. And I think that also when you're new to like running your own business and kind of in any industry, it's letting go of that wanting to please people and make people happy and not having the confidence to ask for what you're worth. And I feel like that's all really hard when you're starting out to like wrap your head around and have the confidence to ask for what you want and what you know you're worth.
Yeah, I think understanding your value and kind of the clarity on why you're building your business. So often people will tell me their goal, right? Whatever it is, 6 figures, $1 million, I don't really care. It could be $50,000. It doesn't matter to me what your goal is. But it's understanding what that goal will give you and will your goal actually give you the lifestyle you want? And then working backwards and being like, well, how are you going to get to that goal? Because if you're charging $20 per client, I don't see you get into that number. So yeah, it's removing that emotion and dissecting it and kind of treating it like, the equation that it is.
Yeah. And so how did you become a mentor?
It's a great question. So I was mentoring a lot in the States kind of in the last few years, just anyone kind of in the restaurant game. And I still to this day get emails from former employees, some telling me what an asshole I was and that they're glad to see I'm not such an asshole anymore, which is fair enough. Sometimes I respond, sometimes I don't. I deserve it. Most of the time, they're not like that, though. Most of the time, they're, thank you so much. Look at what I'm doing now. And those emails literally like fill my soul. Like what I realize is that I no longer need to make a name for myself anymore, right? Like I do something where their wins are actually my wins.
Yeah.
And that to me is everything. So I started doing a lot of work around mindfulness, and that's actually how it built. I was personally became addicted to meditation to kind of clean my act up. And so I started doing a lot of work with mindfulness in corporations. And that was kind of how my own business started when I moved to Australia. Thanks to COVID, that business really took off. And I was the busiest I've ever been in my life during COVID.
Oh, wow.
My husband loved it because he wasn't working for 4 months and I was just crushing it. And it just kept evolving from there. So I was always tied to business, and people started asking me for business help. And I think I was a bit hesitant because I got so burnt out that I was like, if I'm going to help women, I need to make sure that I help them so that they don't get burnt out, right? So I can't just like force, push, which was how I used to do things. So when I felt like I was finally in a really good place, which only has happened in the last few years, and confident, then I started just evolving back into helping people in businesses. I don't really help a lot of restaurants. I have a few cafe clients, but I just think that there's a lot of other businesses out there. I do have a tendency to attract a lot more brick and mortar businesses, even though I am, 80% mostly online. It's just what I attract. I do have a little mix of online, but I work with a lot of hair salons, some in Brisbane. And I find that I think because I had that in-person business for so long and now I have this online, I kind of attract both worlds.
And that's good with living on Phillip Island. Like, I feel like it's great to have those.
Yeah, I heard a really interesting statistic lately, and it said that I think it was like 35%. I might be slightly off 1 or 2 points, so don't yell at me. But 35% of small businesses are owned by women. Oh. And of that percentage, 30% of them live regionally.
Wow.
Yeah, very interesting. But when I look at my clientele just in Victoria, almost all of them live regionally.
Really?
Yeah. So, I do have city people, but it's an interesting fact. And I think part of this is from the pandemic and some other layers to it and, maybe more affordable living outside of major cities. But it's an interesting little tidbit.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense when you think about this cities being around the CBD with all the corporate jobs.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like owning your own business as a mum, you can be flexible and work around all of that in your own hours. And I guess if you're rural and there's less job options and maybe less work from home options, that's a really good way to suit your lifestyle.
Yeah, well, the business that I've really structured, and because it's taken off so much in the last year, we are actually, me and my family are hitting the road next year.
This is so exciting.
Ooh.
My husband came to me a few months ago and pretty much admitted to being burnt out. And I'm super proud of him for saying it because, he loves to provide and contribute, but he saw what was happening with my business. And I felt like that gave him the space to be like, oh, she's like really, really taking it on now. She's doing something. And with that, security himself in our relationship, he said it. And it's a trip we've always spoken about. And it's something that, to be honest, because of how we live our lives and the financial systems we put into place, it's not a big deal for us. And I'm going to fully work on the road and he's going to take a year off and we're going to do the caravan thing all around Australia and we'll rent out our house. We'll turn it into a holiday home. And we don't know where it's going to take us.
Wow. I'm so excited for you guys. That's going to be incredible.
That's so exciting.
Yeah. I know a few people that have done that and they've just said it's the best thing that they've ever done.
Yeah. I can't see anything bad about it.
No. You'll have to come and visit us.
I was going to say, we are definitely having a beer when you're on the Gold Coast.
100%. I actually was saying I need to at some point start a little my own map of people I've connected with online that I get to physically give a hug to.
A big hug.
Yes.
So keen.
Definitely.
So keen. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
So I saw a little while ago you did a great post on Instagram about overcoming procrastination, and I feel like procrastination is the biggest issue in my life.
It's the biggest issue in my life, honestly. How long have I had my business for? I've been doing this since June last year, and I just did my website last week because I've been procrastinating.
I've had my business for 2 years, and I've only just got my website up.
And to do my website, I had to say to myself, Alex, this is a joke. This is what you need now. You need your website. And I gave myself a whole week. And I didn't do anything else. And I got it done, but that was
And that looks amazing.
Thank you. But like that took a long time to even get to that point because there was always something that I was like, oh, I'll do it after this. I'll do it after this. And
It's so strange. I even procrastinate tasks that I enjoy.
yeah.
Like what?
Like when I'll be like writing programs, like programming is one of my favorite parts of my job, writing people's training programs. But I'll just have this little snack before I start, or I'll just do a load of washing, or I'll just take the dog for a walk. Like that's my favorite part, and I still procrastinate it. And I don't know why. Can you share some tips?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, for me, a lot of my tips stem from having ADHD, but I think they work for, all my clients. I'm always trying to give them new ideas. So I think they work for kind of anyone because I am the queen. I like say when it's time to meditate, if there's one dish in the sink, I'm like, oh, gotta wash that dish. No, but like my head tells me that. So my biggest tip for procrastination is accountability, but I'm going to break it down a bit more for you. Look, it's probably the number one reason people hire me, because if you invest in a mentor, you hold yourself accountable, you move. You're like, I'm investing this. I want to make this happen, right? And that's why people often have a lot of fear when they first go to make the investment, because they're just like, oh, part of it is, am I going to do the work? Am I going to make this worth my while? But let's take the mentor out of it and be like, well, how do I just hold myself accountable like on the day to day? And you're probably not going to like what I have to say, but it works like a charm.
Give it to us.
Announce it on socials, whatever it is. Like, I am not kidding. Like, you can spin anything into your business on socials. That is the joy of what we do. Yeah. Like, I announced my husband and my trip on socials. I went live. And often when you see me going live, which is very infrequently now, it's because I'm holding myself accountable. When I officially announced I was no longer taking kind of like life clients and I was only doing business, and that was a full like 100%, that is where I wasn't going to juggle the two worlds. I made a date. I had a countdown on my Instagram. I was like, I've got to announce this. And I was sick in the guts. And I was like, oh, because as soon as I announce it, it means I have to do all this and this and this. Yeah. I have to change the website. I've got to, all those things that we're avoiding. I've got to write the program. If you tell them that it's starting on this date, you have no choice. We all procrastinate, and some of us have to just own it. Like for me, when it comes to program writing, Tegan, God bless you that you love it. I freaking hate it. Like, it's the worst part of what I do, sitting there, recording my voice, making workbooks. I'm a real-time girl. Like, that's just the part I love. I do it better when I'm under the pressure, and I've accepted that. So I think part of procrastination is accepting when you thrive. I thrive at creating last minute, and I'm okay with that. But if I need that kick to get that momentum going, it's about accountability. Sometimes I'll tell my husband, and my husband works away from home, so I'm on my own 7 days a week. So he'll come home. Here's a great example. I gained a bunch of weight this last year or so, I'd say because of perimenopause. So I said to my husband, I want to walk 10,000 steps every day. So every time he comes home now, like he'll be home for 4 or 5 days. Every day he'll be like, did you hit your steps? And I'll be like, oh, just like, nah, because he's home and I haven't seen him and I'm cozy in the fire. He's like, all right, let's go. The sun's going to set. Let's go. Like, because he knows that matters to me. Not being an asshole about it. So find the people that are your people that'll hold you accountable. Tegan, just reach out to me. I'll hold you accountable. I'll nag you so much. You'll just want me to shut up. There'll be 12 voice memos in your account. Like, but it's about creating that tribe of people and using your tribe to be like, okay, everyone, hold me accountable. Because the second you put it out there, I have no doubt you'll get it done.
Yeah, that's such a good tip.
That's a very good tip.
Which, like, think about the things that we have wanted to achieve that we've announced on the podcast.
Yeah.
And we've done them all.
We have, yeah. Especially, I think, because we don't want to let each other down.
Yeah. So now, we probably just need to talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah. Now I'm going to start listening. I'll hear it all. But yeah, I think that's a great platform to use.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really, really good.
And I guess, good if you don't have social media, like you just said, you just pick a person and make them hold you accountable.
Yeah, and you've got to be careful with your person. Like, I've got a client who, she's like, I can't. Like, it's got to be someone other than my husband. And I asked her why, because I want to understand. She goes, because I don't like my husband telling me to do something. Like, that's how it comes across to me, even though I know I've asked him to do that. And I find it hysterical because I get it. I totally get it. And I love that she owned up to it. So that doesn't work for her. But I mean, she happens to be a client. So when I tell her to do something, she does it. Like, she's just like, yep, you know. So you've just got to find your tribe, your people.
The right people.
Yeah.
And you'll have different people for different things and different levels of accountability.
Exactly. And that's why, Tegan, that's what you do for other people. You hold them accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. The same as what you were saying about your clients. Like my clients come to me and make that investment because they're ready to make change and they're ready for someone to keep them accountable. And I actually had a really good conversation with a client yesterday that had been kind of dodging me. So I called her and she was like, thank you for the call. I really needed that. And I'm like, oh, you're not getting rid of me now. Like I am your accountability buddy. Like I'm here. We're doing this thing.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Can't run from
you know, it's interesting. One of the greatest things, you know, I have such a love-hate with social media. Like I'll just put it out there. It's so good and it's so bad. But I've built my entire business mentoring business off of pretty much Instagram. And one of the most common comments I get in my DMs as I start talking with new clients is that they just feel so supported from me via social media. Like if you are someone that's a potential client or someone that has just reached out or you are a client, like I am like cheering you on. And they like tell me how they like feel that. They're like, yep, oh, she saw that post. That's awesome. Like that's amazing to me that I can do that for someone. Even if they never spend $1 with me. The fact that I give them a pep in their step, like how awesome is that to be that person to make an impact that I remember talking with a prospective client. She's finishing up a nutrition school. And I was like, why are you waiting till you're done with school? And I see this all the time with people that are pivoting in their business, that they're waiting for this like pivoted time in their life when the red carpet's going to roll out and the stars are going to align. And this is when you start your business. No, you just start because there's a perfect time and you let it evolve. And when you're ready to start selling, then you sell. But what matters more than anything is nurturing and building a community. That's what matters, building relationships. Hospitality. That's all what we're doing. We're doing online. It's hospitality.
Yeah, it is. It's so interesting. And I'm the exact same. I've built my business in 2 ways. One being social media and the other way being through word of mouth with existing clients that I knew when I worked face to face. But like you said, it's so good and the way that we connect and getting those nice messages from people. And the same, like I met a girl at my friend's engagement party who just followed me through social media and she's telling me all these amazing things that she's gotten out of my page. But then, like you said, like it's bad. Like I recently took 3 days off Instagram for the first time in maybe ever. And it was so blissful. And because we run our businesses online and it is kind of sort of 7 days a week. I know that you and I had a meeting on a public holiday one day because I was like, it doesn't matter to me. It was the first time that I felt like I have fully been able to switch off. And I had said to my clients through the platform that I use, like, I'm not going to be contactable Friday to Sunday. And they're like, why are you not doing this more often? We are fine. But it is like, it's so good. But to be able to take time to switch off every now and then, I felt like I was on a vacation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing how much your whole body, it's like, I always say when it comes to the world of mindfulness and business and kind of your mindset, it's like I always compare us to like a kettle, right? And every day we boil or we overflow. And if we don't take care of ourselves, if we don't take that moment to pause and stop, what happens to the kettle? Like it just burns through the bottom, it gets destroyed, right? So every day we need some way to bring it back down to at least a simmer. Like and this is the ebb and flow. This is what it is. That's why I have rules. Like I'm not allowed to have my phone in my bedroom. My phone, we have a tiny home. My phone lives in the hallway. Trust me, when that alarm goes off at 6, I ignore it as long as I can, but it gets me up. But it's because I don't want to scroll at night. So I have some pretty strict rules. I don't turn on the TV during the day. I work out of my home a few times a week just to kind of change things up. But
you have to, you have to have those boundaries.
Yeah, you've got to create realistic boundaries for yourself. Like I can suggest the phone out of the room to so many people and they just can't do it. It's like, okay, well, if you can't do it, what can you do? Like, can you watch TV and not be on your phone?
It's so crazy how addicted we are.
It is, yeah. I have to make a real effort to put my phone away when I'm watching. Like if I'm by myself, then whatever. But if Kev and I are watching something together, I notice that he'll get like quite annoyed if I'm on my phone, like texting my friends or whatever. I don't like scroll much, but I'll be texting the whole time. And I think he sees it as that's our time. We're doing something together and you're not paying attention.
I think that's a good idea, no phone in the bedroom. I don't like TVs in a bedroom.
I don't have a phone in my room.
Yeah, I don't have a
Bedrooms
TV in
for sleeping and shagging.
Yeah.
You've touched on the ADHD. So how do you find having that diagnosis? Like how do you work around that as a businesswoman?
Well, I've worked around it my entire life. I was only diagnosed when I was getting help with my alcoholism. So I went into her office one day and I was like, and by the way, I think I have ADHD. And I remember she was an older woman. She was a pretty larger than life woman. And she looked at me and she took a perfect beat and she goes, "You think?" I was like, okay. Like that was all she had to say. I was kind of like validation of my whole life. I was pretty confident my whole life I had it, but I didn't fully understand it. It wasn't like it is now talked about. And I always struggled in school, and I come from a very highly educated family, and all my parents, my other brother, like they're all really good at school. And I just everything was a struggle. Like it was hard for me to get good grades. I had to work double as hard. So when she diagnosed me, she asked if I wanted to be put on meds. And I said, well, it's not really my jam, especially with trying to sober up, but I want to see what life is like when I'm on a med because I want to understand. And so I went on meds for about 3 months. And around the same time, I started meditating. And through meditation, I was able to get myself off the meds. So when I'm meditating consistently, if I'm totally honest, my ADHD is very mild. When I'm not meditating, it can be off the charts.
How many people do you think would say, I can't meditate because I have ADHD?
Oh, 90% of them.
And people think, well, I'm not good at meditation. I'm like, that's the point.
But you have to work at it a lot, aren't you? Like I'm one of those people that would say I'm not good at meditation.
You're not supposed to be good at it. It's not something you clock.
I find it very hard.
It is very hard. It's not something I enjoy doing. And I think that's funny. I did all these meditation teacher trainings when I was working with corporations. And, it's something that I use a lot in my coaching now. But it's not these like, okay, we're going to go to the mountaintops and om and, sit in some pretzel shape. And it's about taking that beat, that pause. It's about putting down the phone. It's about, every time before I jump on a call, like with you guys, I just close down my eyes for a minute and I take a breath and I ground myself. Like, go ahead, give it a try right now in the middle of this call. Just soften down your eyelids. Let your belly expand, your shoulders drop away. Notice the silence between the words. Take a big, deep breath in. Open up your mouth, make some noise, let it go. And when you're ready, you'll blink your eyes and you'll come back into your room.
You did it. I did it. Saying I don't meditate, I have a lot of trouble sleeping at night. And when it gets very hard and very overwhelming, I think I've said to you this before.
You visualize at night.
Yeah.
Which is a form of meditation.
Yeah. And I do deep breathing like as if I'm in the pool. I do the same. I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2,
square
3,
breathing.
4. And then that kind of, square breathing.
It's all meditating. It's just about integrating it. So meditation is a massive one for me, but even I struggle with it. So how I work with ADHD is also more about tricks. So the meditation for me is a way to soften the ADHD. To me, it's a medication, right? Is the meditation. But if you need tips and tricks for ADHD, some of the things I have done that have worked wonders for me is often I close down my eyes when I'm talking. I don't care if I'm on stage in front of 500 people. I don't care if I'm on a podcast. If I start to feel like I'm losing my train of thought, I close down my eyes and I keep talking for a minute. I find that place where I was at and I come back. Because that's all it is, right? It's this distraction.
Yeah.
So, if we close down our eyes, we kind of connect back to whatever we were thinking. Sometimes it doesn't work, but the majority of the time it does. And the more you do it, the more you kind of call yourself on it before you lose completely, What else do I do? Oh, I always say, I call it the stop, drop, and roll. when you have an idea, just stop and write it down. Like if you have ADHD, stop telling yourself you're going to remember it later. Like you're not. You have an effed memory. That's part of ADHD. That is one of the side effects of it. Like I have no memory from my childhood. There's a lot of reasons for that, but one of the reasons is ADHD.
Yeah.
So when I say stop, drop, and roll, I actually just put up a really funny reel last night of me sitting in a parking lot typing. And that was real time. I messed up an email to a bunch of clients and was like, oh my God, I've got to fix it now. Like I'll forget. But like voice recording, you're in the car, you're driving, just voice record it. You know, whatever. Don't assume you're going to remember because you're not.
And I commented on your reel last night. That was one of my organizational tips in another episode, is that I have just accepted that my memory is absolutely shit house, and if things aren't written down, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely never going to happen. And I was saying to Alexis, I text myself, and then Alexis said I would forget to read the message, but I said, no, I text myself and then I mark it as unread.
Yeah, that's clever.
Or
that's the key. I would have forgotten. Yeah.
Or if I read something and I can't action it straight away, I have to mark it as unread because I will never come back to it. Never, ever. Or I can't have my phone not on do not disturb when I'm working because that I'm gone. Just like little things like that, like acknowledging what's challenging, right?
Yeah, I really like the Pomodoro method. I don't know, there's a million names for it. It's pretty much this working method for anyone that struggles to focus. This is a good accountability one too, Alex, if it helps, is set a timer.
Yeah.
On your phone, but put the phone hopefully somewhere on the other side of the room. I always I'm in my office right now. There's a shelf above my head. I put my phone up there because then I feel like it's not so easy to grab. I set it for 20 minutes and you work on one thing for 20 minutes. If you're not done, you get up at the end of the 20 minutes. You go have a cup of tea. You go pet the dog. You go stand outside. You take like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Then you come back. If you haven't finished it, you set the timer again. Go again. That's your cycle until you finish that one thing. Let's say you're, working on an email blast to your community.
Yeah.
You do it till you're done. And then you start the 20-minute cycle again for the next project. When I do that, on days where I'm struggling to get things done, it is amazing how much I get done.
Yeah. I really need to do that. I probably really need to do that, like in my writing more than anything, because I think that that's probably what I have said to myself since New Year's Eve. I'm going to get back into writing fiction. I'm going to get back into writing fiction. And then every night I'm like, this is me writing because I'm thinking about what I'm writing, but I won't. And I think part of the, with procrastination, they always say to like kind of look behind like the deeper meaning, like what is it that you're trying to avoid? And I think all of mine is like fear of failure. I'm so scared of what I'm going to write. It's going to be shit and it's never going to go anywhere and it's going to be a waste of my time. But I think, that's I should just not watch TV at night, set an alarm and actually sit down and write all these ideas that I have in my brain.
Well, if you read, I read a book called Hyperfocus, and even normal people, not that you're not normal, even normal people can't focus for more than like 30, 45 minutes in this day and age because of, social media, all of the different distractions. And we task flick hundreds and hundreds of times an hour between like, we're here, we're looking at the text, we're looking at the emails, we're looking at social media. So those focus periods are really powerful. And I used to do when I used to do a lot of written client check-ins, I would do one check-in, which would take me about 30 minutes. And then I would go and I would read a book for 15 minutes. And then I would come back and I would do the next check-in because it's just like I would come back refreshed.
Yeah.
Versus if otherwise I would sit there and I would procrastinate starting the next one.
Yeah. When I'm editing, I have to put my phone away. I have to have no other tabs and I have to just sit there because I can never just do one thing at once. I always have to be doing have 10 tabs open and be doing something and go between. But when you're editing, obviously you have to be so focused. So that's a good tip.
We have one more quick little question for you. This has been so
I could talk
awesome.
to you all day. Honestly, I just looked at the time and I'm like, this is almost now.
I told you. I know that you and I are very aligned with creating our dream lives around our business, and you've just touched on that with you guys about to travel. And I live a very slow little life on the Gold Coast with my business, which is so fantastic, and I feel so blessed every single day. What would you say to women that are wanting to create that for themselves?
Oh, it's a big question, Tegan. It's a big one.
It's a huge question.
I'm gonna give you my immediate reaction when you were asking it, what I thought. And it does involve an F-bomb. Is that all right?
Yeah, go for it.
Fucking go for it. Like, you're going to sit here, and how many more days are you going to waste kind of thinking, daydreaming about it? Like, so what if you fail? Like, is the world going to come to an end tomorrow if you fail?
I was having this conversation with my mum when I was going all in on my business and not working for F45 anymore. And my mum has always been the type that's like, you need to have a stable job. She's been an accountant her entire life. And I said to her, I think I'm going to leave F45 and just go all in on my business. And she was just like, yeah, do it. And I was shocked because I didn't think that would be her reaction. And she's like, I worked for someone else my entire life and I was miserable. I see you have an opportunity here. But she said to me, what's the worst thing that happens? You fail and you go get another job.
Yeah, or what if you don't fail? Or what if you got to get a part-time job for a bit? Or what if, like, we just spend so much time, like, and I would argue actually so much money too, like, kind of wavering. Like, go for it. Take the money that you were spending wavering, investing in things that you kind of weren't that serious about, and invest in the thing you're really serious about. Because 90% of the time, if I'm totally honest, if there's passion behind it, on some level it will succeed, or it will fail because it was meant to fail to evolve to something else.
Yeah.
You know, like, to give you kind of an extreme, and I really hope that, I mean, anyone's listening, but I just say the ladies because that's my jam. You know, my first business was built off of, you know, over $1 million, right? When I started this whole online thing, I took $200 out of my family, you know, joint account, not because I didn't have more, because I am quite good with money, but because that's all I was willing to invest.
Yeah.
And I built an entire business off of $200. So the reality is nowadays, if you can invest in getting help or whatever it is, you don't have to invest a lot of money to get started.
Yeah.
Start the social media account. Create a lead magnet for free with MailChimp. Like, there is so much you can do for such little money to get off the ground. And as soon as you start to get a little bit of momentum, one inquiry, one sale, then you'll start to go. But you've got to start, and you've got to stop waiting for this like red carpet to be rolled out. Like, especially my mamas in the world. I work with every single one of my clients, I think except for one, is a mom. And I know it's a shitstorm juggling children. I mean, Alex, I don't know how you do it. 3? Like, but is there going to be a perfect time? You know, like everyone's like, well, they'll get older and I'm like, yeah. And then there'll be something else. And then there'll be something else. And then you'll be like, what's my identity? Because I work with two extremes. I work with younger moms. And then I have a lot of moms who are clients who are like in their 50s. And their children have left and they're like, I didn't do it. Now I want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and they regret. They wish they had done it when they actually first wanted to do it, because by now it would have been built up into something more.
Yeah.
So ladies, you need to back yourself. You need to stop playing it so small. And when somebody asks you what you do, for the love of God, say it with pride. Say it with conviction. Don't say, oh, well, I just own this little small. It's not little. It's not small. It's massive to you. It's your business. It's your livelihood. It's your passion. Own it. Have energy behind it, because what you put out is what you're going to get.
Oh, this is so timely and so like needed for me, because I feel like I'm like at a real kind of crossroads. Like I was just saying to Tegan, like I launched the website the other day and I finally put my prices out there, which I haven't done before. And I just like freaked out after I did it. I was like panicking that people, I don't know, that weren't going to respond, or I just got really stressed. And I still, when people ask what I do, I'm like, oh, a few things. I'm a freelancer. I really always struggle to say that I was a writer. Like I found that really hard. And I don't know if that's like when you're doing anything kind of creative, I feel like it's really hard to like, you know, label yourself as that. But even like with the podcast, I'm like, oh yeah, I do a podcast and I do some producing. I'm never like, I own a business. Like it's hard.
Yeah. And I think if I can give one piece of advice is that when you're, wherever your business is out, if you kind of lack a bit of confidence, or you're not really clear on how to explain to people what you do, because I get this a lot with some of my clients, that it's not like so clear cut, you know, and for me, it's pretty easy. Like, I'm a business mentor. I help women make real money from what they love doing. Like, how cool is that? But, you know, there's no hesitation. There's no wavering in what I say. But I got to that place because I talk about it all the time. So if you want to build confidence in your business, talk to anybody that will listen. Because what happens is the more we articulate what we're doing, the more we get clarity and then in turn confidence on what we're doing.
Yes. Yeah.
Talk until it hurts.
That's such good advice, because I'll talk to like Kev every single thing that comes into my brain about the business and like you, like new ideas and stuff like that. But yeah, I need to just, that's a really good idea.
And that was such a pivotal turning point for me in my business as well. And that's kind of when the podcast came around as well, when I like really got clarity on who I wanted to work with, what impact I wanted to have. And then I told you that. Yeah. That's how we ended up here.
Yeah,
you were like,
literally.
fuck yeah.
Yeah, I was.
And then that was that, you know, that lined up with me leaving F45 and going all in on my business was being able to be like, this is what I'm doing. This is who I'm working with. This is why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Well, that perfectly segues into our last little bit, which is, where can our listeners find you?
Oh, well, I'm on the gram. It's Alexis_Guttridge. That's my website, alexisguttridge.com. And there might be in the future some additions to what I'll be offering, like maybe a podcast.
Yes.
But those are, Instagram's really my jam. I love it there. I try other things, but you want to talk to me, jump into my DMs, because I just love this shit. And I love talking about business. I don't care whether you spend $1 or not with me. If you need someone in your corner, just reach out.
You're the best.
Yeah, I've just so loved talking to you. This has been fantastic.
She's the best.
Thank you.
How good. And I'll pop all of those, your website and your Instagram handle in our show notes, and we'll obviously share it on our Instagram as well.
Bye, ladies.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to another episode of Bread and Better. We absolutely love welcoming new guests on the podcast, and we hope that you guys got something out of today's chat with Alexis.
I'm sure that they would have, because that was fucking brilliant.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Told you. Mm-hmm. Do you know what doing the podcast has made me realize? I know so many cool people.
I knew you were going to say that. You do. So this morning, a mum at school was like, how do you know all these people you get on the podcast? I was like, most of them are Tegan. Yeah. A few of them have been people I know, but most of them.
Yeah, I know some cool people.
Yeah.
How lucky am I?
Very lucky.
Lucky girl thing. Make sure if you are enjoying the podcast that you jump onto Apple Podcasts and you write us a review. It is really helpful for us to be able to show new listeners what the podcast is all about. And if you're listening on Spotify, you can leave us a rating.
Yes, and actually there's these new things on Spotify where you can answer a question. So like each episode says, did you enjoy this episode? Like, yeah, each episode there's a box and says, did you enjoy this episode? And people have been answering. I'll have to show you them. Yeah, they're cute. Someone completely random was like, I got so much out of this. This was fantastic.
We love.
Like, yay. Thank you. It's very motivating. We had the most beautiful message come into our DMs during the week.
We did.
And it just like absolutely made our day. So
yes. And that's like furthering on to what Alexis was saying as well with, you know, it doesn't matter if people are buying from her, like if they're getting value out of her page and what she's saying, that's still really impactful. And obviously, like, we don't yet make money out of the podcast, but we're here doing it every week. So that's, you know, that's really important to us. Like, we're purely here because we want to be impactful and we want to be educational and inspirational to you guys and just have a bloody good time. So we're glad that that's learning.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to be like people's friends.
Yeah.
Listening to your friends.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm very excited to let you all know that my website, as we actually just said in the interview, my website is finally live. So my packages are on there as well. If you are interested in having a podcast of your own, or if you want to add some educational content to your already existing business, hit me up. The website is www.heyourproductions.com.
Look at us go. Both got websites now.
I know.
You made yours. I did not. My website is www.fittytegs.com, but you can also find me on Instagram. So that's for all things training, nutrition, and mindset.
Yay!
And cool, quick recipes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And follow her on TikTok too.
I got 1,000 followers on TikTok now.
Oh my God.
Yay.
Well done.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Bye.